And in March, one of the directors there, a gentleman named Wells Sempe, who is also the leader of an in-house of the company's in-house union, he was assassinated on his way to work.
South Africa is becoming a hostile place to do business. Basic safety and security is not being met, as illustrated by a recent example in Richards Bay, where Richards Bay Minerals has been forced to shut down its operations owing to a spike in violent crime in the area. Joining me to discuss is Ed Stoddard. He is a contributing journalist to the Business Maverick. Ed, welcome to the Center for Risk Analysis. Could you tell our viewers what is happening in Richards Bay at the moment with this particular case?
Sure. So what's been happening is that for the past 2 or 3 years, there has been ongoing violence and protests that appears to be rooted, at least partly, in what the mining industry is now calling the rise of the procurement mafia. Factions within the community who want a slice of the action, as in regarding the goods and services that are provided to the mining industry, as well as jobs and things like that. So 2 years ago, Richards Bay Minerals was going to undertake an expansion project of around $460 million. Well, Rio Tinto was going to undertake that because Richards Bay Minerals is a unit of Rio Tinto. And that was halted because of the nature of the insecurity situation on the ground. What's happened subsequently was that in May of this year, Nico Swart, who was the general manager there, was assassinated on his way to work. There's little doubt that it was an assassination and not a random act of criminality, which is also all too common in South Africa. 20 bullets or something like that were pumped into his SUV while he was on his way to work. So that gave Richards Bay Minerals and Rio Tinto some significant pause. The Minister for Mines and Energy, Gwedi Mantashe, who's also a very senior figure in the ruling African National Congress, he went down there, which underscored the significance of the event. I mean, in the wake of the general manager's murder, he tried to calm the situation. There's suspicions that because it's northern KwaZulu-Natal, there could be an element of even faction fighting in the background between the ANC and the Inkatha Freedom Party, or the IFP, which is, a longtime political rival of the ANCs in the province. And the two sides have had a history of bloodletting there. And I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying that that's one of the suspicions out there.
Enjoying this analysis? Click here to sign up for our 30-day free trial for more content from the CIA.
But anyway, the minister, despite his best efforts, was unable to quell the ongoing insecurity. And as a result, last week, Rio Tinto declared force majeure on Richards, dealing with its customers that it was supplying products from Richards Bay Minerals, and also a force majeure, obviously, with its clients who were providing it with services because of circumstances beyond its control.
So Ed, what does this say about the safety and security environment, as well as the broader policy environment in South Africa? Is South Africa a conducive place for doing business?
South Africa is generally a conducive place for doing business, but that is starting to become more problematic, if I can put it that way. So for example, in this situation, there are areas where there's intense violence and where the police seem incapable of actually effectively doing their job. So this situation at Richards Bay Minerals, or RBM for short, it was preceded earlier this year by a situation at Blayfor. Now, Blyvoor is a gold mine west of Johannesburg, which was in the process of being rebooted. It had been mothballed several years ago after a very violent wildcat strike. It's in Gauteng province, which is where Johannesburg is. It's about, I'd say 50 kilometers west of Johannesburg, near an old mining town called Carletonville. And it had been, shut for years. It had basically been acid stripped by illegal miners, which are known as Zamazamas here, and criminal gangs. And some venture capitalists got together and thought it was still a good asset in terms of grades and the ore body and things like that. So they were attempting to reboot it. And in March, one of the directors there, a gentleman named Wells Sempe, who is also the leader of of the company's in-house union, he was assassinated on his way to work. And then protests by a rival union shut the mine for several weeks, and the police were doing nothing about it, according to mine management, despite high court orders instructing them to do so. And that situation seems to have been resolved now, and Blyvoor is back up and running. I spoke with the management a few days ago, but these are all very worrying trends about the rule of law and about the ability to effectively police. And many of these mine-affected areas have large communities and poor communities drawn from rural areas and things like that. So they tend to have a lot of poverty. The mine workers themselves have a lot of dependence. And so you kind of have a growing array of problems and social challenges, which can, I suppose, in some circumstances, easily give rise to social unrest and violence.
Ed, President Ramaphosa, in a recent newsletter, which is publicly available and which we'll link to below, painted a rather sunny picture of the mining industry in South Africa, said that it's well positioned to take advantage of the global commodities boom. But in a piece that you wrote on that newsletter, you indicated that perhaps the president isn't recognizing the seriousness of the situation. Do you think that there is an underappreciation of the gravity of the constraints and obstacles that are facing the mining industry in South Africa from the president and from the rest of the cabinet?
I suspect so. One sometimes gets the impression that the South African cabinet is living in a bubble, in a blue light brigade bubble, and are losing touch with the reality of the situation on the ground, because the president didn't speak to any of these significant challenges. He simply spoke about how there is a commodities boom, how it's feeding into South Africa's positive terms of trade, its positive trade surplus, its positive balance on the current account. And all this stuff is well and good, and it's one of the reasons why the rand currency has been performing remarkably well so far this year. But having said all that, there is not significant investment coming into the mining sector here, despite the fact that iron ore and various PGMs such as palladium and rhodium have been hitting record highs this year. I mean, rhodium was close to $30,000 an ounce. I mean, who has ever heard of such a thing, a precious metal being worth, as much as a house, just to buy an ounce of it? And on top of that, I mean, the gold price is still at very elevated levels, at close to $1,800 an ounce. The coal price is up. So there is clearly a commodities boom going on, and there's a wide range of reasons for that. But South Africa is not able to effectively take advantage of it because of the sour investment environment, and that includes the lawlessness that we're seeing.
Ed Stoddard, thank you very much for joining us on the Center for Risk Analysis. If you enjoyed this content, please do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And also join us every weekday morning at 7 a.m. for another update from the CRA team and our guests. If you also would like to leave a comment on this video, let us know your thoughts on the operating conditions, particularly for your business. Is violent crime a problem for your organization? That's it from me, David Ansara. Until next time, take care.